Hello everyone. The last time we did one of these vlogs, we don't do them very often, but the last time I did one was when the whole COPPA thing was going down. I did a few videos on that and what that would mean. And I thought today, with some of the changes that are taking place to the channel in May and going forward, it might be interesting to jump back in. So I'll get right to the title. We'll get to that first, because I've seen a number of titles that aren't actually reflected in the videos, and we've never ever done that. But kind of where I'm going with that it feeds into this, because what I watch a lot of videos for developing the channel. So I watch, some of the stuff from Roberto Blake and Nick Nimmin and Daryl Leaves, and I think one of the newer ones, I think it's Caitlin. I think her name is Caitlin Manning, maybe. So I watch a lot of that stuff with the idea that there might be some tips and hints and stuff in there that I can use to, kind of increase viewership a little bit. With the end goal being that a YouTube channel would be maybe a better fit for the star of the channel than trying to work a regular job. But so what I think all those guys are not, some of them are a little bit more forceful with this than others, but none of them I think is explicitly clear that, a lot of their advice is if you do this, you'll increase the chances of this happening. But a lot of them don't get into the downside, which is if you don't come up with a clickbaity title and a clickbaity thumbnail, the odds of it going viral or getting much of an audience is dramatically decreased, almost non-existent, I would say, at this point. And that was kind of one of the main questions that I had going in was, could we do this organically? Our big reference for this was always Patrick South and the Axel Show. And there wasn't a lot of promotion and stuff like that. And I really haven't done any of that either. I haven't done the thing where we go find related or similar creators or videos and then comment up a storm in there. We don't have a Reddit. We do have a Twitter, but there's no Facebook. I mean, there's not any real attempt at networking, especially. There's problems with the fame and stuff being intended, but now it's to the point where, in 5 years, we're not quite to 44% as I film this of being monetized, right? So without having the 1,000 subscribers, and lately the thing is subscribers don't matter anymore. Tags don't matter, subscribers doesn't matter. But if you don't get to 1,000 subscribers, YouTube will not monetize you. So our watch time has always been pretty much kind of there where it needs to be, but subscriber count with the sliding goalposts has been something that, we're on a really good roll now. I think of 2 or 3 years of steadily adding subscribers every month, but you think about that, 5 years, and we're still not quite to 44% of just the minimum that would take to even be considered for monetization. So there's a lot of reality that they don't really get into, as much, I think, is probably they should. There's these big scare headlines and stuff like that, but they don't really look at the reality of stuff, right? They don't look at, like, for instance, I've got 2 other channels. I'm thinking about adding a third, which would make 4, that whole niche down thing, right? So the other 2 channels are completely niched, and one of them I will include in the description below, where I eat just mainly spicy foods, hot sauces, and stuff like that. So that will be in the description. You can check that one out. The other one is not intended for kids. I don't want any overlap. I'm not going to link that. The one I'm considering doing, I'm not going to say anything about right now because I don't know if it's going to actually happen or if it is going to happen, when it's going to happen. So I'm going to leave that one for now. But that one are very, very specific things. The other channel is a gaming channel. And the 4th one, if it happens, will be pretty specifically devoted to just one thing. So they're very niche down, but those 3 channels combined don't have enough subscribers to be monetized, even for one channel. Combined, they're probably over like 45, maybe 46% of the way. Combined, right? there's over, well, not quite over. There's about 1,300 videos between the three channels, and this one is by far the most of them. At this point, there's over 800 videos as I film this one, and unless you're going to dedicate, I think literally like the Hobby Kids thing, they're always on. There's always something there, and they've got a little empire going, and good on them. But they never leave it. It's like the work-life balance is, I think, non-existent for a lot of that. They're always trying to think of, hey, what kind of cool video can we do next? More power to them, but that's not what we're trying to do here. It's the niching down thing too. I think is kind of a problem because we want to be a variety show. It's like just saying you can pick one thing to drink for the rest of your life. So if you like Coke, all you're going to have is Coke. That's it. you want to change it up with water or anything like that. You can't. You're not able to do that. That's like an extreme version of niche down maybe. But that's kind of where a lot of this is, and constantly spending all that time, it really gets away from fun. It gets more into work, and then that starts to translate into the channels. That's why you see so much burnout with guys a lot of times, because it stops being fun. It just becomes a job, it becomes a work. And when you're a kid, I think that really gets to be problematic because kids are way more interested in having fun than in, slugging away and trying to think of, hey, what camera angles can we do? Hey, should we mic this? Hey, should we shoot this like 4 different ways? None of that stuff. That is, and in fact, I think a lot of it is really geared towards if something doesn't like fairly immediately happening, then even getting to that point is of almost no interest. If it's they're waiting for the edited version of something to be there rather than the process of planning, filming, all the pre-production stuff, the editing, the actual production stuff to render a final. They're interested in, hey, I just want to see this because it looks magic, and I have never known a time in my life when there hasn't been pretty solid CGI, and I just want that. I want the Thanos, finger snap, right? That's what I want. And a lot of that, I think, kind of gets, glossed over. So, in 10 to 20 years from now, it's going to be, I think, really interesting to see what the landscape looks like. So for this one, we've had 2020 was, I think, pretty much a shell shock with the whole COVID-19 thing. The star was, like almost all the kids in America, was shoved out of school in March. He has not been back. So as I film this, he's been not in that building in any capacity for well over a year now. And in some ways, without getting too personal, it allows him, I think, some good elements to it in that he can not feel quite as pressured for some of the stuff to do, but in a lot of respects, he misses the socialization and he misses the kind of group stuff that goes on. And so that's part of what's going on is that it's been a very, very difficult year in a lot of reasons. It's still ongoing, actually well over a year now at this point. And it's still ongoing. We still don't know if, there's no child vaccine as I film this, so we don't know what the condition of things will be like, we're going to be in fall. And there's a lot of, kids aren't getting as sick and, so on and so forth, except they are with the new variants. And they're actually getting more sick. What happened was everybody protected the kids, right? Initially, they took them out of that stuff for the most part. And so, of course, kids weren't getting sick because they weren't being exposed to it. But even if it's, let's just say it's 1 in 10,000 kids as opposed to 1 in 1,000 adults, for instance, right? Or 1 in 100,000 kids as opposed to 1 in 1,000 adults. Do you want your kid to be that one laying on his back in a hospital bed with a piece of plastic tubing shoved down his throat? Like, is that what you want? Especially with all the long-term damage that they're finding, when it's a very preventable type of situation. So it's just not. It's really super unfortunate that things got out of hand. That things were allowed, in fact, to get out of hand to the extent that they were. super, super unfortunate. But that's kind of what we're dealing with. Also, you know, as he gets older, primarily we did a lot of Transformers, right? So we've done Transformers. I think half our, maybe even slightly over half our videos are Transformers or Transformer related in some way. We have a lot of Transformers on there, well over 400. And what happens is that when kids get older, sometimes they start to lose interest in stuff. And so, you know, there's a realization I think that dawns on them that I have now 50 or more Optimus Primes. I have, including, you know, the guy behind me, I have as many Bumblebees, if not more. And, you know, you start to get some of the repetitive stuff, and other stuff starts to be new and interesting. He loves to draw. He's very artistic in that respect. He loves to draw and create and things like that. But that doesn't always translate into something that we can film where that makes a good video right now. You know, so he's still kind of developing and kind of finding out and feeling out what he likes. You know, he's really interested in Halo right now, so that's why you see some Halo videos up there. You know, so that's what we've seen. We've seen a lot of shifting, I think, in the things that he's interested in. Really, this channel has, except for some stuff that's obviously really specific to me, has really followed his interests a lot more closely than it has mine. I mean, it's always been geared and built, you know, for him to be the star. But now we're kind of at the point where, you know, because I obviously have a very refined work process, right? Because I can't keep 3 channels current, you know, without being behind. Right now I'm ahead on everything. You know, everything as I film this, May is done for all of them. For one of them, in fact, June is basically almost complete as well. This one I have enough in the can to do June, and I think maybe a couple other months with the slowdown. You know, and that's the thing. It's in the past we used to film every weekend. You know, every weekend we try to knock out some videos. Now there's huge gaps in there. So it's one of the primary reasons I had to cut this back. YouTube itself seems to feel like your videos have some breathing room, so we're going to test that out. I kind of hope to be able to sustain it for a little bit longer, but you know, this is our anniversary month as I film this. This is April. So at least through April, through 5 years, we've been able to have between 2 to 4. You know, for a while it was 4 videos a week. So between 2 to 4 videos a week, you know, for 5 years. So that, I mean, it's been a pretty consistent, solid type of thing there. You know, and that's the thing too. The toy market got really weird, and I noticed that with a lot of this stuff, if you don't have latest and greatest stuff, especially if you don't have a following, it is really hard for YouTube to put your video in a position where people are going to see it. You know, a lot of our videos go to YouTube Kids, so you know that's what I'm always saying. Follow us on Twitter. If you use Twitter, come follow us there, because then I post up all the videos on Twitter. So the ones that are on YouTube Kids don't get pushed out there. And we still make some that belong there. I'm not going to say we don't. Obviously we do. But I put those on Twitter so that everybody knows about them, whether or not they're going to be seeing them being fed to them by YouTube or not. And YouTube it's really funky, the things that they're wanting to do. I get that they're trying to improve the algorithm. It's their site, they can do whatever they want. But I really am not super pleased that they've decided to shove everything in the direction of, you know, clickbaity stuff, you know, with the thumbnails and with the titles. That is honestly really annoying to me. And if it doesn't happen, like I said, your opportunity to really get some good viewership and so on and so forth is exponentially reduced. It's seriously low. You know, if you don't do those things. Of course, we're not doing those. We're not going to do like TikToks and stuff like that, like those really short ones that, forget it. You know, that to me makes almost no sense. The other 2 channels, and if I had a third, it's going to be like this also. Very straightforward. you could see in the thumbnail what it is. I never use thumbnails. I never look at a thumbnail for what I'm going to watch, like ever. I look at the titles. So when they're saying, call 911 or the most Fred Bears in a GTA 5 car ever, something like that, I don't care. Like I'm done with that video at that point because I don't care. I can't tell what's in it. To me, I see a bunch of capitalized words and I see exclamation points, and I'm done. I'm literally done at that point. But and maybe that's the thing is we don't know how to attract, or at least I don't know how to attract the kind of audience that maybe is clicking on this stuff. I'm assuming that people, my age and sentiment are at least out there somewhat looking for this, but I don't think that even if there are, I don't think we're composing the greatest population. I honestly don't know what 2022 is going to look like. Usually I'll have an idea of the coming year ahead. I literally have no idea for this channel. We're at this point we're trying to just keep it going as long as we can. I don't like to give up on projects. This is a very fun project, but it's also very expensive. So, you look at the model videos are doing pretty well, but those are both somewhat expensive for a hobby, and they're also very space intensive. So that's kind of part of what I need to look at with stuff like that. I honestly don't like. We've finished a lot of the Transformer videos. A lot of those playlists are. That's why I'm combining so many now, is because we completed collections on a lot of that stuff. And there's not, to me, a big thing looming on the horizon that I'm super excited about. I've got a couple more figures as I film this coming in at some point in the future. I don't know when. They're not released yet, but I've got a couple figures on pre-order that for my office. And outside of that, there's some really long-range stuff that if I saw it, I would probably get it, but I don't. It's not critical, and I'm completely out of space in my office right now. I think I have room for probably 2 more models, and the action figures I can work with a little bit easier, but I can fit those 2 in there. And then I'm flat at that point. I can maybe stack another one on top of some papers or something, and I don't know, use it as a paperweight. But like that, seriously, when you see the office collection video coming up in October, you're gonna see that I'm really squished in there. The other thing too is at some point I'm gonna have to get some different equipment. A lot of the stuff that I want to do, I put on hold. Some music stuff, which I don't have actual equipment for at the moment. And some of the editing stuff, to do part of this other channel I'm considering is going to require me to be able to deal with 4K. Right now I cannot deal with 4K at all. That's why you see, you don't see us really focusing on just crazy amounts of information and bits per, pixels and stuff like that, because I don't have anything that can process it right now. We're using really mostly existing stuff. I've got a couple. I think I'm filming these on these Canons. Want to say those are between $200 and $300, and that's kind of the level that we're at. Because I mean, how much can you really pour into something like this? Unless you're going to turn it into a business. And I have a hard. It's so counter to what I want to do. I don't want to go make clickbaity garbage. I don't know how to use Photoshop. I don't want to spend time and that kind of time with thumbnails. So probably, the odds of this changing and becoming popular are just really low, I would imagine. So at some point, I think, at some point you have to kind of look at diminishing returns and, try to decide what it is, that it's important and what you want to do. We've had a lot of fun doing this, but a lot of projects I've been in the past have been, me kind of carrying the entire project on my back. And I thought that might be the case with this one going in, but, kind of it's to the point where that this could be the front wave of a gradual tapering off. I think we're going to be set through 2021 with the way that the years usually flow and the videos I have in the can. Some of those are going to be kind of behind. Like I've still got a model to do. Like there'll be a model post every month for the rest of this year. That part's not going away. We'll still do the collections. Collections are getting a little bit smaller because I only update when we have a change to the collection. So the collections have been getting a little bit smaller. Collection overall, like one year I think we did almost every day in October. Lately it's been not quite that. This year October might be the one month where we do more than one a week. We might be doing, should go up to 2 a week for sure, maybe even up to 3 a week, just kind of depending. But after that, like I said, there's nothing really on the horizon that I can see that's gonna be like, okay, this is gonna be the next thing. Where I'm at right now in Spider Central, there's just stuff that we have so we really just have a lot of toys, and it's kind of the point where there's boxes of them. Now we're kind of getting to one of those guys that has storage sheds full on top of storage sheds of toys and stuff like that. We're not in a huge place, so we've kind of come to the crux, right? We've kind of had our backs to the wall at this point, just from the flow of things. And like I said, I mean, we appreciate everyone that comes by and digs our channel. Like, thank you, everyone who has done that. Thank you if you've told somebody. We really appreciate that. And that's kind of one of the reasons that we try to keep going, because I answer all the comments. I look through everything, even the stupid ones I get. I look through all that stuff. Like having some interaction and stuff like that is cool. That's a fun part of it. But at the end of the day, if after massive amounts of work, and it's been fun for the most part. It hasn't been work for the most part. It really has been fun for the most part. But at the end of the day, after all that stuff, you kind of have to take a look at it and say, okay, so is Sisyphus ever going to get the rock up the mountain, right? Like, is it ever going to happen? And I don't know. I mean, we might be doing play around with some gaming stuff. I think that might be on the horizon. I don't think we're ever going to do a full gaming channel because, and again, some of those avenues I think this one was very well explored by the time we got into it. That is very well explored now. No matter what we do, we will never ever produce any videos as good as David Ryan does. Like, it just won't happen. So trying to figure out our own style. We've thrown a couple of gaming videos out in the water to see what happens. They really, at this point, have not done particularly well. And I think gaming is another element to that, where you kind of have to pick something that, like the spicy food and the hot sauce thing, right? I can tell when I've posted something that it's visible to them, I guess, first of all, and they're all interested in. I also have a blog about hot sauce as well. But I can tell that because I will get a huge influx of views and stuff like that. Well, I mean, the same thing I think actually kind of applies to, you kind of have to almost be on the front line for a lot of that stuff. And organically too. So if you choose to do what we do and you try to make a channel organically, you don't know what's going to hit. Our most popular video was kind of this screwball thing that we did, which was FNAF versus Paw Patrol. And I still, to this day, we did a sequel to that video. We did a sequel to the Paw Patrol versus FNAF video. And Bupkis, right? For whatever reason, that other one, and I don't know why, we had one that did really, really well last year, which was a video that was, at that time, 3 years old, about a plastic toy collection where we made like this mini zoo. And it was Inspire Central, and that was back when I wasn't really paying attention to the color a lot of the time. So I don't understand. Like, there's no through line, right? There's no continuity. If you choose to do it organically, you're probably not going to figure out why stuff hits and why it doesn't. Like, I don't know. There's better analytics on YouTube now. And I guess, like Mr. B says, watch where they drop off and see what that is, and then start eliminating all that stuff. But the problem with chasing trends, right, is when they go somewhere else, if you're not going to go there, then you're done, because that, trend chasing doesn't usually tend to build a fan base very well, particularly in music. And I don't know, it's just not, to me, it's not a thing that fit. It's not fitting, it just doesn't work like that. The whole thing with this is creativity and kind of the opportunity, I think, to be yourself without kind of glomming on to, let's see how stupid and clickbaity I can make something. There's not a lot of videos I get tricked by anymore with that, but there's still some where I'll click on them, to see what they are. And, they won't be totally clickbait. They'll have some information in the title. So I'll click on it and see what it is. And especially if it interacts with an area of a video that I've done or I'm thinking about doing, and I'll look at it and it'll be like, it won't reference that at all. In fact, a lot of them are just frankly stupid and a waste of my time. And if it's not going to be something you're going to be interested in, I don't want people watching to the end to find that out. Like, I want them to know that up front. Are you interested in this object? If you are, this is the object. This is what's going to be in the video. And if you like it, then awesome. Come on in. And we'd love to have you. And if not, then, keep on trucking. And I really wish a lot of them were more like that. I don't like this trend very much. And we're not, at this point, participating in it. But if you don't, again, you're going to be kicked downhill head first. I'll just tell you now. So as a creator, that part is kind of annoying. But again, I don't have the resources to try to build my own competitive platform or anything like that. So, the choices are, either you do that too, or you just ignore it and hope for the best, and maybe it'll be like, hitting the winning Powerball ticket or something like that, which I think kind of the odds are very similar these days. Anyway, so that's a really long-winded discourse. The state of the state, as it were, state of the channel. I wanted to kind of come through and talk to you guys about, why we're making some of these changes and maybe what's going to be happening in the future. So, like the one video I've never wanted to shoot for the channel is the final video, but I think we're closer to that now than at any point ever in the history of the channel. And even if like you have an old pet or an old parent or something like that, or a sick parent or whatever, and you know that it's coming, that they're going to die and not be there anymore, even if you know that, it's nice to have the advanced knowledge, I guess. You can plan for a little bit, but I don't think you could ever fully prepare, for that when it actually happens. So all that could change in an instant, with it's the internet, right? That could change like literally the day after this video goes live. All that could change in an instant. So who knows? But that's kind of where things are, right now at the beginning of May. We're gonna go to one video a week and see what happens and hope for the best. And maybe if we do wind up on a track that's interesting to us on an artistic level, then we'll be able to kind of keep it rolling. But as it stands now, 2022 I think is pretty much in jeopardy. So again, it's nice to just kind of hang out and talk to you guys for a minute, share some thoughts. Thank you for everyone who's watched, or who's brought somebody in, or who's subscribed. Thank you all very, very much. Seriously, very much appreciate that. If you don't follow us on Twitter, please follow us on Twitter. Please come to Twitter if you want to see all of our video postings. Every one of those is posted on our Twitter feed. So whether it's marked for kids or not, I post it directly on the Twitter feed, and there is as well Twitter specific exclusive content. We do some display shots, so a lot of the models, things like that, wind up in there. If Leo's come up with some cool poses for some of his figures, those are also on Twitter. But Twitter is definitely the place to find all the new videos. There is a blog. Like I said, the blog runs through the entirety of the history of this channel. So if you want to see how we progressed from when we started in 2016 to now. It is all on the blog. You can go, I believe it's linked actually on the YouTube page. If not, if you go to our Twitter feed, it is in the pinned tweet, and you can just click to it from there. So that's all there if you're interested in knowing more. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Thanks to everyone who's stayed with me to this point in the video. It was nice having you. Nice sitting and chatting with you. And I'm sure we'll probably do it again at some point. Like I said, we don't do a lot of these, but I'm sure at some point in the future that will be we'll have another one of these get-togethers. Sayonara until then, friends, and we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.